Cohen joins us from Tel Aviv. Good morning, Danielle.
Good morning to you, Allison, and good morning, everyone. Fiery demonstrations are breaking out as the butcher of Tehran prepares to address the UN tomorrow. Republicans say Ibrahim Raisi should have never been allowed to set foot in the United States as fury grows over the brutal death of a young Iranian woman and recent comments Raisi made casting doubt on the Holocaust.
Protests in the streets of Iran. Men and women take to the streets calling the Iranian regime fascists over the death of a 22-year-old woman. Mahsa Amini was beaten by Iran's so-called morality police for not wearing her hijab properly, though the official cause of death is listed as heart attack. At Amini's funeral, Iranian women removed their headscarves, a punishable offense, and waved them in the air in defiance. On Sunday, in a sit-down interview with 60 Minutes, Raisi stoked the fire of anti-Semitism when he cast doubt on the Holocaust. When asked point-blank about the murder of 6 million Jews, Raisi said this.
Look, historical events should be investigated by researchers and historians. There are some signs that it happened. If so, they should allow it to be investigated and researched.
So you're not sure?
I think the interview that Raisi did with 60 Minutes is a preview to what we're going to hear at the UNGA. It's going to be more Holocaust denial, more anti-Israel sentiment, more anti-America sentiment.
Brian Live is the director of Iranian Americans for Liberty. He's Jewish and the grandson of a Holocaust survivor. He believes anti-Semitism must be called out at every turn. And so does Rabbi Stephen Berg, CEO of the Jerusalem-based Modern Orthodox H Global.
Calling out anti-Semitism isn't because we feel bad. It's not like someone called me ugly and I'm insulted. These are people talking about annihilating, dropping nuclear bombs.
Rabbi Berg says it's critical to learn from mistakes in the past. He says Osama bin Laden made no secret his intentions to attack America, and it was only after thousands of Americans died the world took him seriously. Here's an impassioned Rabbi Berg saying the U.S. shouldn't be giving Raisi, who he calls a terrorist, a platform.
We have to call out because they don't value life. They are telling us exactly what their plan is. They're telling us exactly what they want to do. The bottom line is these are sick people that should be given absolutely no venue to speak on.
Raisi says he has no plans to meet with President Biden this week. However, the Iranian delegation has signaled an openness to discussing the Iran nuclear deal. Republicans fought hard to keep Raisi off American soil. The Biden administration says it was, quote, obligated to allow the hardline president into the country.
All right. So what's your name, buddy?
I'm Justin.
Justin, nice to meet you, buddy.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
All right. So, what do you know about the girl that was killed in Iran?
So I know that she was killed because of her unwillingness to wear a hijab, and so I mean a lot of this unrest is pushed back towards some of the more repressive tendencies of the regime, of the theocracy in general. I think it's actually a very interesting time for Iran because in a lot of ways that there's opportunity for revolution, because historically in a case like this, if you would have revolution, like say with Syria, a larger power like Russia or the United States would step in. But in this case, I don't think any world power is in position to really take a side here. So this is really the people versus the government, which is quite interesting. I'm very hopeful for the people of Iran. I think it's good that they're pushing back. It's obviously not good that there's so much violence and repression, but this could be an opportunity to see some good positive change in the nation.
Yeah, just to throw some things, I wanted to help you out. Elon Musk has actually helped them out with the internet because the government had actually turned off the internet.
Right? The Starlink?
Yeah. So that's really cool.
I thought that was good too.
And it's funny, now a lot of the young Iranians don't remember the Shah, know about the Shah, and they wish that actually they bring back a person like the Shah, free ideas and things like that.
Yeah.
And get rid of because if you look at Turkey, which is a Muslim country but is secular, so if they could get to that place, I think that would be, great for them.
Yeah, it's tough, right? It's like the lesser of two evils. I think a lot of people forget that the Shah was one of the most repressive leaders in the entire history of Iran. Like, yes, he was Western aligned, but he had the secret police. He really crack down on nationalization of Iran's resources. I mean, he was installed by a U.S. coup. So, I don't know, it's tough when, I mean, people that have grown up without knowing that, like, they can look back with rose-colored glasses and be like, we would like that, but it has to be a happy medium, because that's just another brand of fascism in its own way, right? And even with Turkey, I mean, Turkey is a secular country on paper, but we're kind of seeing just across the world, like in India and Turkey, a move towards like religious fundamentalism in supposedly secular countries. Even in America, I mean, there's a big push for Christian ideology to be front and center when it comes to the lawmaking process. So I think, to get on my soapbox, I think the big villain here is religion making its way into a supposedly secular government and really being the driving force behind a lot of decisions. I think that can lead to problems, as we're seeing.
Now you seem very young. How old are you?
I'm 25.
25. How did you know so much of the backdrop of Persia?
Oh, I mean, history class, I read a little, and I try to stay informed. I think, like, I've only now started really being truly informed. I try to make an active effort when I was in college. You live in your own bubble. I think people like to think that they're adults and they know everything they should know when they leave school, home and go to college. But I think you start knowing what you don't know. I know I don't know enough still. I try to learn more.
What do you think about the people that say that this is an example of that secularism works and putting religion and politics does not work? Would that be a good example of that what's going on in Iran?
Say that one more time, I'm sorry.
Some people agree that this is an example of how religion in government or politics does not work. Would this be a good example of that?
Yeah, I would say so. I think, like, the real root cause of the killing of that young girl, right? I mean, that came from a morality that was derived from religion, right? It was acceptable because of religion. And when you start making law on religion, you alienate all of the people in your nation that are not of that religion, right? I mean, even though Iran is a predominantly Muslim nation, there are plenty of atheistic or Christian or Jewish people living in that country. They're all forced to play by rules that, I mean, they don't believe in. They have just as grounded and true faith as any Muslim in that nation, but they're still living by Muslim law. So I don't really think that's right. I think a secular law that democratically elected people agree on and write is a much better mandate to put on a government and a country than that of a religion that everyone may or may not follow.
Gotcha. Do you think there's been enough buzz about what's going on in Iran right now concerning her death?
No, I honestly, like, when you go on, I mean, media like the Times reports it, Reddit is all over it. I mean, like, I think on the whole, though, I mean, the world is more obsessed with what's happening in Ukraine, which is very important as well. I think America is still fixated on the media circus surrounding Donald Trump. I think there's some reluctance to really engage with that issue in Iran for a lot of reasons. I think it's hard to relate to for Americans. It's very out of the pale. That's something that really doesn't happen here. Like, we're not a theocracy. It can be hard for people to imagine what it would be like to live in that. And then also, I think there is some internalized discrimination, right? It is when I think the coverage that an Islamic country gets is probably going to be less than the coverage like a more Western country like Ukraine would get.
Right. Gotcha.
I don't think it's malicious. I just think it is what it is. Yeah.
That's cool. Do you have a message for the men and women who are supporting her in solidarity?
Oh, yeah. I think I think they're true patriots and heroes, and I hope they know that the world is behind them, and that they have support.
Cool beans. Thanks a lot, buddy. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Okay, guys. Hey, it's Carlos. So I'm here in Little Five Points, Atlanta, Georgia. And I'm going to be talking about the girl that was actually, I'll say, murdered by the police in Iran for not putting on a headscarf. Okay, so go ahead and stay tuned. Let's go ahead and check this out. All right, and what's your name, sir?
Bo.
Bo, nice to meet you, buddy.
Nice to meet you, Carlos.
All right, so now you've heard about the girl that was killed in Iran because of not wearing her face covering. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I don't think anyone would really particularly think it's a good thing that is American, I guess. I can't imagine anyone thinking that she deserved it here. I certainly don't, you know. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's police brutality on a whole other level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know, and the interesting thing is that as the story unfolds, she's out with her friends. They just drag into her van and they just beat the living daylights out of her. And you know, what's interesting thing is I wish it would make more waves upon this sort of in the media. It's getting in some ways, but this really ties into, you know, sort of women's suffrage, things like that. Just to add to what you're saying, there are men actually who are marching with them in solidarity in Iran right now.
Good for them.
Yeah. Do you think that the U.S. government should do anything about that?
I mean, unfortunately, what can we do? I mean, it's a whole other country with a whole other set of rules.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, one of the biggest issues of 2003, the invasion of Iraq and stuff, is that we were actually called the world police because we jumped from country to country. And it's a very tricky situation. I'm sure that nobody in the government would want to see it happen, but I mean, it's a give and take. You know, we adopted isolationism in World War II, prior to World War II, and look how that turned out. So to have that same sort of situation here would be, I mean, it's hard, you know. We get involved, we screw things up. We don't get involved, someone else is going to screw it up. I think they should do something about this. Unfortunately, I don't think anything good would come of it. But I think that every American should, you know, support the women's movement there, support women in general. And yeah.
Right. Do you have a message for the men and women who are supporting her suffrage movement in Iran right now?
Who are or who are not?
Who are supporting?
You're braver than me, because that is truly an awful place to have that sort of opinion, where just even having your hair exposed could mean death, does mean death. So all of you are wonderful people.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. All right. So, this is Travel News with Carlos Cruz, and who am I speaking with today?
Kelsey Phillips.
Elsie Phillips. So, you know about the girl that was killed in Iran. She was out with her friends, and she got beat up, got brain damage, all because she was told to put on a headscarf by the religious police in Iran. And what do you think about that?
Well, it's very similar parallels to what we're experiencing here in America. Not that it's the same extremes, but you know, there are women over in Iran that lived in a different type of regime and a different type of, you know, ability to go out without the headscarf. So what we're seeing, you know, with women shaving their heads and cutting their hair off and protesting in their streets and putting their lives at risk, they're going out deliberately knowing that they're putting themselves at risk to, you know, potentially have their lives ended. Whereas, you know, we can go out and protest anything. So to see these women coming together of all ages, it's incredibly powerful for sure.
And you know what's interesting too is that the men there are actually marching with them in solidarity, which I'm really happy about. And I'm really surprised that a lot of people aren't, not saying you, but aren't aware of what's going on over there. They're really making a lot of noise. The government's so suppressive, they actually turn off the internet.
Yeah.
What's his name? The Tesla guy.
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk. He actually is providing them with satellite internet. God
Yeah.
bless him. And I was raised by a single mom, so women's rights is really should be a forefront. If that should, doesn't matter what country you're in. I think, you know, everyone should be concerned about. One woman here is a sister somewhere else. And this on this global, you know, global scale. Do you think that the U.S. government should intervene?
Yeah, absolutely. But do it in a way that's actually supportive and not pursuing capitalistic interests.
Yeah, I was even told that some people wish that the Shah was back, in Iran because he was more westernized and it was more freedoms. Do you remember about the Shah of Iran?
I do, but I think that there's a way to give these people the things that they deserve without having to compromise on either side.
Right.
I think that they deserve true leadership and true freedoms, and they deserve a voice in what they're experiencing. But, every country is a little bit different.
Yeah. Did you know that Turkey is a Islamic country, but they're secular, so they don't even have these issues? Mm-hmm. They're like the first Islamic country to go secular. Were you aware of that?
Yes.
That's really cool because like Islamic women and Jewish women, whatever, they don't have to wear a headscarf if they don't want to.
Right.
Yeah, I think that women in Persia should be afforded that opportunity.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
No problem. And any message to the women in Iran right now? You go marching with them?
Yes, we're standing with you. All women, we're all fighting together. When you need us, we're there, and we know that when you need us, when we need you, you'll be here with us. So it's all of us together.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
Thanks.